It was supposed to be the most magical night of the year. The lawn in front of Fairview High School was transformed into a scene out of a movie. Strings of lights hung across trees, casting a golden glow over a crowd of students laughing, dancing, and taking photos. Among them were Emily Carter and her boyfriend, Jordan Hill. The couple everyone thought was perfect. Emily, in a shimmering sky blue dress, smiled as she clung to Jordan's arm, her golden hair catching the light. They looked like royalty walking toward the entrance of prom, the envy of every other couple around. Emily had been planning for this night for months. Her mother, Laura Carter, helped her pick out the dress, did her hair, and even cried a little when Emily came down the stairs. It was a proud moment for any mother. Laura remembered saying, "You look like a princess," as she took photos of her only daughter standing next to her date. She trusted Jordan. He was polite, respectful, and came from a good family. Everything about the night felt perfect. The event was held at the Bloomridge Estate, a beautiful venue just outside of town, surrounded by wildflowers and pine trees. Parents were not allowed inside, but that was tradition. The teens wanted their space, and the staff had strict security measures in place to ensure everyone's safety. Around 11 p.m., Laura's phone buzzed with a message. "On our way home in 15. Love you, Mom." Emily had sent it, and Laura smiled, already in her pajamas, waiting to hear about her daughter's night. But 15 minutes turned into 30, then an hour, then 2. By 2 a.m., Laura was frantic. She called Emily's phone, no answer. She called Jordan's number, straight to voicemail. She even texted some of Emily's friends. No one had seen her since just before midnight. By sunrise, Laura had already called the police. The sun crept up over the horizon, casting long shadows across the quiet streets of Fairview. Laura Carter hadn't slept a minute. Her daughter's bed remained untouched. The pale blue comforter was still folded neatly, Emily's perfume lingering faintly in the air. It was as if she had vanished into thin air. By 7 a.m., police officers were stationed at the Bloomridge Estate. Investigators combed through security footage, questioned chaperones, and reviewed check-in logs. Emily and Jordan had been seen entering the event around 7:30 p.m. The footage showed them dancing, laughing, and enjoying the evening like any other couple. But then, just after 11:15 p.m., Emily was seen walking out of the venue toward the back gardens, alone. That was the last anyone saw of her. Jordan, when finally reached by police, claimed he had no idea where Emily went. He said she told him she was going to the bathroom and never came back. When he couldn't find her after searching for a while, he assumed she had left with friends or felt sick and gone home early. "I didn't think anything was wrong," he told the officers, though his voice shook when he said it. To Laura, that answer wasn't good enough. She knew her daughter. Emily would never just leave without telling her. She was responsible, always careful, and most importantly, she would never let her mom worry like this. Something was wrong. Laura could feel it deep in her bones. Over the next 2 days, search parties were organized. The woods behind the estate were scoured. Volunteers from school, neighbors, and even strangers from nearby towns came with flashlights, boots, and hope. Still, no sign of Emily. Not a shoe, not a hairpin, nothing. Local news picked up the story. Teen disappears after prom. Emily Carter missing since Saturday night. Social media was flooded with posts. Hashtag Find Emily trended for nearly 48 hours. Everyone had an opinion. Some blamed Jordan. Others suggested Emily had run away. A few even spun wild theories about secret stalkers or prom night dares gone wrong. But none of it made sense to Laura. She knew her daughter better than anyone, and this wasn't like her at all. Then, on the 3rd day, something strange happened. Laura received an anonymous tip. A crumpled note had been slid under her door. It was scribbled on a piece of lined paper. Check the laundromat on Bellwood Street. Back corner machine. At first, she thought it was a cruel prank. But something about the shaky handwriting and the urgency in the words made her pause. Bellwood Street was on the edge of town, near the industrial district, an area she hadn't been to in years. Despite the warning from police not to interfere, Laura drove there herself. The place was nearly empty. The smell of detergent and metal filled the air as she pushed open the heavy glass door. The hum of machines echoed through the tiled walls. Behind the counter stood an older man with silver hair, folding clothes. He looked up briefly, but said nothing as she walked in. Laura's heart pounded as she stepped toward the back. And there it was. In the last washing machine in the corner, barely visible through the fogged-up glass window, was a sky-blue prom dress. Her daughter's dress. The same one they had picked out together. Only now it was soaked in dark, dry blood. Laura froze. Her breath caught in her throat. Her knees buckled slightly as she reached out, her fingers trembling. The sight of the dress, the blood, the smell of damp fabric and metal, it all hit her at once. Her mind raced, trying to piece together what it meant. The man behind the counter noticed her staring. Slowly, he walked over, his eyes landing on the machine, then on Laura. "You know whose dress that is?" he asked. Laura turned, her voice barely a whisper. "It's my daughter's." Laura's mouth had gone dry. Her fingers hovered just inches from the glass door of the washing machine, as if opening it might make all of this more real. The sight of her daughter's blood-stained prom dress stirred a horror in her chest she had never known before. The older man behind the counter leaned closer, arms folded, his gaze sharp yet unreadable. He had a face like weathered leather, deep creases, pale eyes, and a stillness that made Laura uneasy. "You're sure it's hers?" he asked. "I bought that dress with her." "I know it anywhere," Laura whispered, clutching the edge of the machine to steady herself. The man paused, then exhaled slowly through his nose. "It came in this morning. I didn't even open the bag at first. People leave things all the time, but then I saw the blood. I was going to call someone, but then you walked in." Laura blinked. "Who brought it in?" The man scratched his head. "Can't say for sure. It was left in the bin out front. No note, no ID. Just this blue thing stuffed in a plastic sack." She stared back at the machine. Blood had soaked the bodice and part of the skirt. Her stomach turned as her imagination took over. How had it gotten this way? What happened to Emily? Was she still alive? "I need to take it," Laura said. "I can't let you do that," the man replied, stepping between her and the machine. "Police want to see it. This is evidence now." Laura looked him dead in the eye. "Then we call them. Right now." 10 minutes later, police officers arrived. Laura stood beside the detectives as the dress was carefully removed, placed in an evidence bag, and taken in for testing. They swabbed for DNA, photographed the machine, and took a statement from the laundromat owner. His name was Hank Willis. He'd worked there for over 15 years and claimed to have never seen anything like this. Later that night, the police confirmed that the blood matched Emily's. But what came next was even more disturbing. Inside the seam of the dress, hidden in a pocket Laura didn't even know existed, they found a small folded note. The ink was smudged, the paper wet from a wash, but still legible. It read, "I'm sorry, Mom. I didn't mean for this to happen. I'm so scared. If anyone finds this, please tell her I love her." It was signed with a heart and the letter E. Laura broke down. Her daughter had written those words. It meant Emily was alive, at least when the note was written. But where was she now? And who had dropped off the dress? The police launched a full-scale investigation. Cameras near Bellwood Street were checked. One caught a blurry image of someone in a hoodie dropping the bag in front of the laundromat just before dawn. Too dark to make out a face. But the frame showed a detail that didn't go unnoticed. The person was wearing black gloves and had a distinct limp. Laura's mind immediately went to one person, Mark Bishop. He was a former janitor at Fairview High, recently fired for inappropriate behavior with students. Rumors had swirled about him being caught lurking at events he wasn't supposed to be attending. He even had a known injury from an accident at the school a year prior, which left him walking with a limp. When police questioned him, he denied knowing anything. No dress, no Emily, no clue why they were even at his door. But Laura wasn't convinced. She began digging on her own, reading online forums, connected with former students, and even breaking the rules by showing up at Bishop's small rented house with a photo of Emily. His reaction? A flinch, a stammer, and a slammed door. Something wasn't right, and Laura knew she was getting close. That night, she sat on her daughter's bed, holding the now-sealed copy of the note found in the dress. She stared at the last words Emily might have ever written. I'm so scared. So was she. Laura didn't sleep that night. Every time she closed her eyes, she saw Emily's face, scared, lost, calling for help from somewhere far away. She held the photocopy of the dress note like it was her daughter's heartbeat. The pain of not knowing was torture. But Laura's love for Emily burned stronger than fear. She wasn't giving up. The next morning, Laura returned to Bellwood Street. This time not to the laundromat, but to a small storage building 2 blocks behind it. While she was reviewing the security footage with police the day before, she noticed something odd. The hooded person who dropped the bag didn't just appear out of nowhere. They came from behind the laundromat. That small detail lit a fire in Laura's mind. The building was a run-down self-storage facility. A metal gate surrounded the area, but it was poorly maintained. Anyone could slip through a broken panel in the fence. The front office was closed. For lease, signs hanging crooked in the windows. Laura slipped in through the side and began checking each row of storage units. The air smelled of rust and mildew. Wind rattled the aluminum doors. She walked slowly, her heart pounding. Then, about halfway through the back row, she stopped. One of the storage units had a thick chain locking the handle, but the area around the latch had scratches. Fresh ones, like someone had recently tried to break in or out. Suddenly, her phone buzzed. It was Detective Andrews. His voice was sharp, urgent. Laura, we got a match on something. The hoodie in the footage had a logo on the back. It's from a repair company, Hanson and Sons. Guess who works there part-time? Laura didn't even need to guess. Mark Bishop. Exactly. And get this, he rents a storage unit under a fake name at Bellwood Storage. We're heading there now. But Laura had already found it. She stared at the scratched-up lock, the faint smell of bleach in the air, and a gut feeling that tore her apart. Hurry, she whispered. I think I found it. 10 minutes later, police cars rolled in. Officers cut through the chain. The door groaned open. And inside, curled up on a pile of dirty blankets, pale and trembling, was Emily. Laura gasped and sprinted forward. Emily, she screamed, falling to her knees and wrapping her daughter in her arms. Emily was weak, her face hollow with days of fear and dehydration. But she was alive. She sobbed into her mother's shoulder. I thought I was going to die, Mom. I thought I'd never see you again. Laura held her tighter than she ever had. You're safe now. I've got you. I'm here. Emily was rushed to the hospital. She was malnourished, traumatized, and physically exhausted, but doctors said she would make a full recovery. Over the next few days, the full story emerged. Mark Bishop had snuck into the prom grounds, hidden in the trees. He had been obsessed with Emily ever since she began tutoring in the library after school. He'd watched her from afar, twisted his obsession into something dark. That night, he waited until she stepped outside for some air. He approached her from behind, drugged her, and dragged her into the woods. No one noticed. He'd kept her in that storage unit for 4 nights, barely fed her, kept the lights off, told her lies, that no one was looking, that her mom had forgotten her. But Emily didn't believe him. She remembered who she was, and she knew her mom would never give up. The blood on the dress came from a cut on Emily's arm, an injury she got while trying to fight back on the first night. She had written the note in a moment of fear and hope, tucking it into the dress when Bishop finally agreed to get rid of the evidence. She'd begged him to take it somewhere no one would find her, except, in his arrogance, he chose a place just familiar enough for Laura to sense something was off. Mark Bishop was arrested that same day. His apartment contained disturbing evidence, drawings, clippings of Emily's schoolwork, and journals detailing his delusions. He pled guilty and was sentenced to life in prison. But none of that mattered to Laura anymore. What mattered was that her daughter was home. Weeks later, as Emily sat curled up on the couch watching the rain with a blanket over her lap, she turned to her mom and said, "You never gave up on me." Laura smiled, brushing a strand of hair behind her daughter's ear. "Because a mother always knows. I felt you calling me, even in silence." Emily took her hand. "That laundromat, that dress, it saved me." Laura nodded. "It did. But so did you. You were braver than I'll ever be." Emily eventually returned to school. She finished her senior year and gave a moving speech at graduation about resilience, hope, and how the ones we love never truly leave us behind, even in the darkest hours. The laundromat on Bellwood Street closed down, but for Laura, every time she passed by it, she remembered the moment her life changed. The moment a mother walked in and, instead of giving up, found the first clue that would lead her to the person who meant everything. Her daughter, her Emily, and a bond stronger than fear, time, or darkness.